What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that we have also been anticipating because this band sounds exactly like a band that we love. And they're also very transparent about it. But anyway, we are going to go over the latest offering from Gruesome, Silent Echoes. This also comes out on the 6th of June on Relapse Records. This band formed in 2014 in both California and Florida, which is kind of cool because, well, I mean, Chuck lived in both. You know, that seems pretty appropriate.
I mean, when we say spot on, we mean spot on, right down to the geographical location here.
This is their third full length. Overall, I have been a fan since this band's debut, Savage Land. I have picked up every single album after that, and they've all sounded exactly like Death because this band is a Death tribute, but they're not just playing Death songs. They actually kind of rearrange them and make them their own. And I would say this also counts as a supergroup considering the roster we have here. Matt Harvey from Exhumed on guitar and vocals. Gus Rios on drums, formerly of Malevolent Creation and Divine Empire. Robin Mason of Castrator and Durketa. And Daniel Gonzalez of Possessed. And he also did some time with Cavalera too during their whole run of just doing classic Sepultura material. Now, I really wasn't sure that this band was actually going to go into the territory that they're going into here in terms of Death's career, which this is the Human album, for damn sure. If you don't get that, looking at the album cover, trust me, just flip it over. It also screams Human. Open up the booklet. It's Human. They have it laid out pretty much perfectly. This project itself, I believe, was born out of Left to Die, which is a flat-out tribute act where they're actually playing Death songs. And Matt Harvey in there, I guess, decided, like, you know what, let's see if we can, like, you know, do Death, but do, like, a tribute where we're actually doing our own songs, but all of them in the vein of Death and specific albums, too. They released Fragments of Psyche as an EP a while ago, and I thought that was going to be it. Like, that was all they were going to touch on as far as Human or Individual Thought Patterns or anything beyond. But all of a sudden, years later, we have this album, which, I mean, dead nuts. This sounds like Human. Yeah. Like, you could fool someone with this one. Like, you could pepper in a couple of tracks off of this onto, like, a Human playlist in front of, I would say, like, some veteran metalheads.
Yeah.
You know, give them a couple beers, too, so they're nice and loose and just kind of getting into music. But give them a second to see if they actually realize that it's not Human they're listening to.
Yeah, because I could totally just see someone going, yeah, this is, I don't remember this part. No, it's still Human. We're fine. Yeah, me personally, I don't know if I've ever sat down and listened to this band, but I feel like I've sat down and listened to this band because I have, in essence, like, not these exact people, but I mean, I've listened to Death a lot. So not having heard this band, I guess it doesn't really matter because I have.
Yeah, this band has always been transparent about what they do. And apparently some people seem to forget that because I was looking over like some of the archives reviews and, you know, people are like, can't believe these guys are flat out ripping off Death. And it's like, you can't believe that. You look at the logo, you look at the cover, and they're transparent about it. You know, it's the same people that were complaining about Neon Nightmare being like, man, they're just ripping off typos. Like, you didn't get that this was a tribute? Anyway, I was looking forward to this because I, again, really wasn't sure they were going to do the Human era. And I mean, baseline, I would say, like, if I didn't like this, I feel like I'm dogging on Human. And also, baseline, like, if this sounds like Human, it's hard to miss. Mm-hmm. Like, and this legit does. Like, down to the production, which was done by Jared Pritchard, he absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, he absolutely nailed it 100%. First of all, the drums, I can't get over how good the drums sound. It sounds like you were sitting in the same room while they were being recorded. Like, it's about as natural as it gets. The kick drum sounds like you're sitting, 4 feet in front of it watching the band jam. The snare's got this just great thwack to it. The whole thing sounds like it was plucked just straight out of the 90s. Right on down to the mixing knobs being tweaked ever so slightly. It's like they took a picture of the mixing board from Human and they said, just make it like that. And it's exactly like that. Guitars, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, the guitars have this rich, very thrashy crunch to it. Everything kind of has this, like, kind of old school crispness. I mean, this sounds like something that Morrisound would have churned out years ago. Maybe they did. The individual performances on here, I think, are absolutely amazing. Matt Harvey, once again, he sounds like Chuck. He's
100%.
A little bit lower. Like, that's about it. Like, it's the most minor detail.
But even so, not really. Like, I can tell it's not Chuck just in certain vocal inflections or the way things that are enunciated, but once again, like we were talking about earlier, if you slip this on at a party to a bunch of drunk people, no one's going to be able to tell the difference.
No. The dynamic between the guitarists, both, Dan Gonzalez and Matt have like different styles of guitar work. And I love that shows up on the lead work in here. The lead trades in here are great. And they both seem like they kind of like, again, take over those active roles. Like Matt is, naturally the Chuck in this scenario. His leads are very tuneful and melodic, but a little bit more raw. And then fucking Dan Gonzalez is just shreddy and melodic as hell. Robin's bass lines, I think, are really solid, though she's not doing like the full-on, fretless play that Steve DiGiorgio had. And I do think that, that makes the bass lines a little bit less distinct overall, but her playing on here is solid. There's some good isolated pockets. Transition-wise, oh my God. Like, this is as smooth as the template they were, borrowing from. And again, these are still original compositions done in the flair of this band. And they, again, absolutely nail it. And I believe Matt said, they approach, each song, all right, we got to make sure that this still stays in the vein of the album we're going for. And they nail that. But here's the thing. They don't sound like specific tracks off of Human. There isn't one on here that sounds flat out like Flattening of Emotions. They just kind of capture the hallmarks, the centralized sound of the album, and they do it so damn well.
The guitar harmonies. Let's just state, first of all, that a lot of that's found in the guitar harmonies. And those harmonies are done so well. Again, how Chuck liked crawling harmonies, like little intricate crawling harmonies. And this record is just packed full of them. I gotta be honest, it sounds like Chuck is still alive. That's what this record sounds like. A
Darkened Window, the title track, Fragments of Psyche, all have those, I just call them death harmonies because he had kind of a signature sound that he went for with those guitar harmonies. They sounded tuneful but sinister, and in this case, a little bit more intricate because this is where they really kind of got into the prog material. And this was the one that I really was paying attention to on the transitions and such. Because Spiritual Healing was definitely a more technical album, but this one definitely jumped up quite a bit. And this really just, again, absolutely nails the sound. The riff changes, the harmonies on here are excellent, and it's not just the crawling harmonies, just the harmonized riffs overall. And I even think within here there might be some slight nods to individual thought patterns. Now, it could very well be that this is both the Human tribute and that tribute too, because, Savage Lance was essentially Leprosy and a little bit of Scream Bloody Gore kind of wrapped together. Either way, I'm not complaining. Everything on here I thought was just executed really well. And it's done with heart. You can totally tell that they absolutely love this music. It's done with a lot of attention to detail. Again, even visually, sonically, production-wise, they wanted this to sound as close to the original without, just pretty much just completely copying it. And I would say they did that. The only thing I would say they kind of changed around, and it was the track I was kind of wondering about. And here we go. Yeah, I'm still not a big fan of Cosmic Sea. I know everyone still seems to get on me about that, but guess what? Still not a fan.
It's all right. He can be wrong every now and again. He doesn't always have to be right.
Boring track. He skippable.
Whatever.
But there was definitely a song in here that as soon as I saw the title, I figured that this was going to be the Cosmic Sea tribute, the instrumental, and I was right. But I was also maybe a little bit wrong. Voice Within the Void, Astral Oceans. This is the instrumental track on here, and I was expecting, again, the more cosmic, spacey sound that was on Cosmic Sea. That one's, honestly, you throw that song on, Focus, maybe it fits a little bit more. Maybe. I don't know. But I was expecting this one to be a flat-out tribute to that song and be more cosmic overall in terms of the atmosphere and such. And honestly, this is a little bit more straightforward and riffy. It's definitely technical. There's some really interesting off-time drum patterns, great cymbal work from Gus. And this actually features a third guitarist on it doing a lead. And yeah, no, it's fucking Paul Masvidal, because who else do you get?
Just a lot of proggy transitions. Again, you get machine gun riffs. Those are all over this record. But the overall vibe and the feeling of that song, you do get a little bit of that spaciness, but it's not overpowering by any means. And all the leads are really cool. Dude, Paul's lead, is Paul's lead. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna bow down and say that Paul's lead is Paul's lead. For as spacey and as straightforward as it might be, and as proggy as it might be, it also has a lot of intricacies in it, and that's something that this band really does well, especially in the last song, Reason Denied, which I think has some of the greatest drum work that's on this record. And granted, Gus Rios is no slouch. I'm going to make that totally clear. The man is no slouch in his own right, and he does a great job of emulating Sean Reinert in this case. He and Sean were friends, so that's all portrayed really well, but there are some wonderful intricacies going on in this song, and it comes not only from the drum work, but from the guitars, and the intricate syncopation between the two of them is mwah.
And again, I feel like that's something we can say about like literally every track in here. Like I could not find a track in here where I didn't like it, which, I mean, yeah, again, it's modeled after something that I already love. It's tough reviewing this because, again, I feel like I'm reviewing the original thing, and again, if I find any qualms with it, I feel like I'm also attacking the original because, again, they did it so spot on to the point where, again, you can sneak this in a playlist and fuck with someone. Actually, I might do that sometime. Who knows?
I mean, really,
you can do that with like any Gruesome album, like legit. Yep. You can probably fuck with like even the biggest Death fan, pepper in one of their songs, like, yeah, no, that sounds a little bit different.
How did I go all these years with never hearing this? I don't know, man.
Weird, right?
It's strange. I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, as far as like any negatives, I really don't have any other than I knew what this was going to sound like before I even hit play. Like, it's so fucking spot on. I will say, and it's not a slight against Robin's playing at all. She's an awesome bassist, but I would have liked to hear like more like that fretless play, or at least like more bass isolation. There's like a couple of spots.
Yeah, with Voice Within the Void, there is a part, I don't know if it's the bridge, it's such a big song. There's so much encapsulated there, like I'm not sure exactly where it sits, but I think it's right before it gets to the point where Paul's lead kicks in. It gets a little spacey, and it's got this like bass and drum groove. That's the really only time that I could really hear it stand out. Like, if you've been listening to music as long as we have, you can still pick that shit out, but it wasn't overly prominent. So, yeah, it would have been nice to at least just tweak that a little bit. But, I mean, even so, it's not really a gripe.
Yeah, no, everything else on here sounded exactly the way it should sound.
Yeah.
Right down the production, which, God, man, the production here again, it, like, absolutely captured that vibe. Yeah. But when it comes down to, like, rating this, like, I can't grade this on originality because, well, that would be kind of stupid. So, I mean, a lot of this comes down to, like, how well executed this is and, like, how, like, it really captures that nostalgic vibe. And they flat out nailed it. So, overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is fantastic. A 4.5 just feels weird because I would rate Human the same.
Yeah.
And I feel like this has to be just a little bit lower because it's a tribute. I don't know. That's my weird justification for it. But fuck, dude, this is so well done. The riff work is tight. Lots of great melodies. Like, I mean, they captured all of Chuck's playing. They captured Paul's playing, too. The lead trade-offs are fantastic. Again, I love the fact that you have 2 distinctly different guitarists on here, and you can tell. Drum work, Gus nailed it. Yeah, everything on here is exactly pretty much what I wanted from a tribute of the album Human. Go figure. If you're a big fan of Death, and, like, Exhumed and, I mean, just classic old school death metal and, like, like techier stuff, like, Gorguts, Erosion of Sanity, like stuff like that. Like, I mean, yeah, most of our fans on the channel have listened to Human. If you like the album Human, then go get Bonus Human, also known as Gruesome Silent Echoes.
I mean, my rating doesn't vary from that really at all, nor with my description, to be honest with you. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 as well. It's almost a direct comparison to Human, which I rated pretty goddamn high anyway to begin with. So, like, if I were to rate it on execution alone, I could call it a 5 because they nailed everything to the T. Once again, we've talked about this. I'm going to throw this onto a playlist and see if anybody notices. But I can't give it a 5 because it's not rated on execution. Like, it's a 4, but it's the best thing that isn't Death. That's it in a nutshell. So if you're a fan of Death and the album Human, you're going to like this. I'd recommend checking it out.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents. And our next members-only live stream is undecided yet, but we're going to do one probably, I would say, like middle of this month. But if you're not busy, around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, we'll actually be doing our Maryland Death Fest recap with Jeff over at Gas Mask and Hand Grenades and Jimmy over at Future Ruins and probably a slew of other guests. We have so many bands to talk about, some merch to show, maybe an injury or two.
Maybe some fun stories to tell.
Oh, plenty of fun stories.
Man, what a time that was. Join us because it was a real good time, and there's things that you all need to hear about.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, memberships are the main way to support the channel. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our hats and shirts. That is linked down below. And there's also a join button down there. And you can hit that, and we'll talk about how much this could absolutely fool fucking Death fans, because legit, I mean, that's kind of all their fucking albums. But, you know, yeah, just join up. Let's talk about Death and Gruesome and shit. Not actual shit.
I mean, we might talk about actual
We might actually talk about shit. Good point.
I stopped up a toilet in Baltimore. All right,
True story.
I didn't think that was possible because it was a pretty decent toilet, and I thought I could take a beating.
Pretty decent turd.
It was a pretty decent turd. It was about the size of like 2 babies. Anyway, yeah, hit that join button, and even if you don't, it's cool. We're not gonna fault you for it. We're just thankful that you're here. Tons of stuff coming from Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings. We got At the Gates coming up next. I promise we will get that out soon. We're gonna start working on it here now that we're all calmed down from MDF and, you know, back to our normal, boring lives. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and work on that in tandem now with it. We have Thrall's Greatest Hits. The next Greatest Hits I believe we're doing is for Sepultura, so that'll be kind of cool. And of course, tons of other content because that's what we do. Members-only live streams, non-members-only live streams. We do all metal all the time, and it's all for you guys. Thank you for being a part of Thralls of Metal. We appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely roll. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.